the week before Christmas, I was in the hospital with my 2-year-old daughter, who arrived there via ambulance after being taken directly to the emergency room from just what I thought was a regular pediatrician's appointment. So what happened was, after months, honestly months, of various colds and cooties, as to be expected, when she had just started at a 2-day preschool program around her birthday, she had developed what I didn't realize at the time was RSV, which then got worse and developed into bronchiolitis, which is where it's like sitting in the lungs, and it just makes it really hard for the body to get the oxygen that it needs. And then you need professional support, oxygen through the nose, to be able to get the oxygen that you need. And I'll actually put a link in the show notes of this episode to some Instagram stories from a former pediatric ER nurse named Shan Tripp on Instagram. Her videos that showed what this labored belly breathing can look like that's related to RSV were actually very helpful to me. Thankful for my sister, who actually sent me these videos so that I knew what to watch for, because I had been parenting for over 10 years. This had never actually happened. I didn't even know, is this the contracted breathing? Is she struggling here or whatever? But she had had a pretty big fever spike the night before. Anyway, and I made an appointment, took her to the pediatrician. The pediatrician, who I love, was just very upfront with me, and she was like, this is making me nervous, and we need to get her in an ambulance or take her directly to the emergency room, which of course is what we did. And then we ended up needing the ambulance to transport us to the actual children's hospital that night because she needed oxygen all along the way. And needless to say, it was one of the scariest, most intense days, nights of my life, especially as a mother. But also it was just, I could cry right now thinking about how grateful I am for every single professional who was part of that chain at all the different places that we went, the paramedics, the nurses, the doctors. I just kept looking into their faces to be like, can you please tell me this is normal and that she's going to be okay? Because they see, bless them. I mean, they barely had a bed at the hospital for us that night because it was so full of other kiddos who were way worse off, honestly, even than she was. And it's comforting in a way to be like, okay, right, but it's not normal for us, but it is normal, and you see this and this happens, and they just need oxygen support for a few days, and then everything's okay, right? So as I'm laying there in the hospital with my precious Poopsie, who was such a freaking champ, I'm like in awe of her little spirit and all that she was going through. And she was just like, okay, trusting us along the way. She got a couple of Cabbage Patch dolls out of the deal. And I'm so thankful for my village of like, I have 2 whole other kids, and my husband was doing some work training across town. And my sister was I have many sisters. That's why we moved back here. One of my sisters was able to take the boys who were just living their best lives, being able to have a sleepover with cousins on a school night, it was a lot. And times like that can be so challenging and clarifying. I mean, it's just like straight up fire or lava or whatever. It burns everything away that is not essential. And it helps you really focus on what matters, who matters, what do you want life to be set up for, so that when stuff like this happens, or it can be an amazing thing, it doesn't have to be hospital emergency situation. When this stuff happens, how do I want my life to be set up? Like, what a blessing. They kept asking, do you need a doctor's note to be able to go back to school or work or whatever? And I'm like, well, no, I'm my own boss, so I can write my own note, And I was so thankful for the flexibility that I could choose in to that, like it wasn't even a consideration in my mind. Now, again, this is a sidebar conversation. It's not like entrepreneurship is superior or better than having a day job. Like, it's such a beautiful thing to contribute in whatever way you do. And as long as it's working for you, then I'm all about it. Like, anyway, that's a sidebar. But as I was laying there, of course, because I am who I am, my brain's like, I want to create more evergreen assets. I still have a course about copy, which I created years ago, and I still have people signing up for it, which is amazing to me. And it's evergreen. There's no regrets, no regrets there. It's still just as relevant now as it was years ago whenever I first launched it. But there are so many things in this candy shop visual that I have that I would love to create. And I'm like, I want to create those things. But right now, I'm essentially dealing with a chronically ill child. Again, it's not a major one singular illness, but for better and worse, for various types of reasons and issues that she had had for several months, even leading into early spring, like recently. It's just, it hasn't been, I haven't had much margin. I haven't had much time to myself where I could just create. And that's okay. I felt like so thankful that I could be there for her and with her and just be her. You know, she loves my arm. She loves my arms. I say it's her Second Amendment right to my bare arms. Like, she loves to snuggle with my arms. So just to be able to be there, obviously, and then just being her mom, like being able to be there, there's no other place that I would rather have been. And yet also, I know deeply within my soul, I want to create and share and help use the experiences that I have in my life to help share in whatever way that it can make your journey easier or more fulfilling and more tailored to what you actually want, you know? I know that that's part of what I want to do, but I just couldn't get there from here. It was like an arm's length away, you know? And when I think about it and I zoom out about the year overall, I think about, okay, well, I want to be that person. If my kids are sick, somebody breaks a leg, somebody needs to go to the emergency room. And again, God willing, these things are not happening again in 2023 or beyond. I want to be the person who's there. So even if I had childcare to delegate to, I wouldn't want to. It is my blessing to be able to be there. And in this lifetime, that's a role that I choose and I'm grateful for. Not that it's always easier and enjoyable even, but it's something that I know in my heart I want to be there for that. So it's been clarifying to me to think about my business and what do I actually want to create? What can I actually offer and commit to in full integrity and know, regardless of what's happening, I can deliver on that with joy and presence and power and quality and value for my people. And that's funny that even last year I thought, oh, Trimester of Awesome. I committed to doing this 12-week live program every single week, having a call. It's like if we miss a week, you can't just bump it to the end of the year. Like the year ends, that's when we're ending. You know, there's not another Tuesday to tack on to the end. And there were so many days when Noe couldn't go to school. So she just sat there at my desk with me and she colored or played Play-Doh and whatever. And of course, because my clients are amazing and also moms, many, not all, they were totally cool with it. And I wouldn't have that any other way as well. So as I'm laying there in the hospital, I'm thinking about this Tuesday, Thursday energy, thinking about maybe next semester I'll have more time to be able to create it. And I'm to create these things that have been circling the creative airport for a while. And then I think about the year and how, okay, we're going to be going back to Hawaii over this summer. And then school starts and then people get cooties. And if they're sick, I want to be able to be home with them. And then it's the holidays. I'm like, oh, you know what? There's actually not that much time throughout the year that I'm going to want to just be like all in on business, like all in on creating these evergreen assets. Like I said, this candy shop that I'm visualizing, there's not actually going to be a huge window where it's like obvious this is the time to create it, except for right now in spring of 2023 as I'm recording this. I don't think it's officially spring yet, but there's pollen all over the place here in Texas, so it feels like it is already. And the cold weather is gone by. It was in California this past weekend. So Tuesday, Thursday energy. So, you know, when I'm thinking about my week, when I have childcare in theory on Tuesdays and Thursdays, where I have some hours to myself, where I can focus on whatever it is that I want to focus on, it's in my mind and in my spirit, it's Tuesday, Thursday energy. It's like, that's when I can just go ham. If I want to create, I can sprawl out all my stuff on the living room floor as I have today, notebooks, journals, card decks, giant crumpled up Post-it pads that have been folded into my cabinet for too long, so now they're all bumpy instead of flat. And I can just do that. And I'm looking at this spring as the Tuesday, Thursday of my year. So this is the time, who knows what's going to happen. I'll stay flexible, but this is the time where I want to rewrite my Naptime Empires manuscript so that I can then move into editing it for real this time and self-publishing it. I want to support other people. And this is when I can do that in real time. This is when I can commit to, because summer's going to be full and then we have back to school season and whatever cooties that may or may not bring. This is the time when I can support other people in their creative processes. So this is when I can commit to actually hosting live Mutual Inspiration Society events. You know, I call it the Creators Studio, where it's kind of hot seat coaching time. We're clearing through the resistance, but then also just co-working and co-creating and literally just getting our hands dirty. I imagine, you know, like the pencil smudges and the paint splatters and all that kind of thing. And we're just making our things. And I'm sharing that with you in case, well, one, if you want support and you want to be part of that, then reach out and let me know and I'll tell you what's going on. But two, I want you to zoom out and look at your year and zoom out and look at your life and what's non-negotiable for you of when you want to be able to be there for your people. Maybe it's not your kids, maybe it's your parents or whoever that you're helping out with caregiving when emergencies come up. But again, maybe not emergencies, maybe it's just exciting opportunities that you want to be able to be like, yeah, I can do that. I can go there. And you've set up your life in a business in a way that actually supports that. How can you make hay while the sun is shining when you have the margin, so that whenever you don't and you feel completely stretched with all that's being asked of you in a given moment or season, you can still feel expressed, connected, of service, inspired, and receiving money, to be honest, ways that you can get paid, even when life's thrown you a curveball. So I'm hopeful that something in here resonates with you. I feel very I don't know, I've been wanting to share this with you for a while, and there's so much more I could share about all kinds of different levels. So if anything, if you're like, I want to hear more about X, then just let me know, hit the link for the comment box, tag me on Instagram, whatever. But I think there's something to this of really zooming out and looking at your year and being like, if I want to be really present and available for lifey things in these moments, one, how can I design and create offers that fit and integrate beautifully with my life? For me, it's a lot of asynchronous coaching support and then these evergreen on-demand assets. But like I said, I'm adding in some real-time calls for what I'm offering this spring. But it's like, how can you design with these lifey things in mind, these priorities that you would never regret dropping everything and being available for, whether it's your best friend's book and she's going to be on the Today Show and you want to go with her to help pick out outfits, or whether it's something not quite as fun, like health issues. How can you design and how can you make the most of the brainwidth and the energy and the inspiration that you have now to support yourself and your family in the future? That's the question. Tuesday, Thursday energy. Thanks for listening. And for real, let me know in the comment box what resonates and what it sparks for you, and we can continue this conversation soon. Okay, technically that was the end of the episode, but since you're still here, one, I'd love to thank you for spending part of your day with me, and two, I'd love to ask you if you would take 30 seconds, maybe 60, to leave a rating and review in your podcast app before you tap out today. If you've already done that, it's amazing. Please send me a screenshot so I can thank you personally, and know that sharing this episode with a friend has the same magical powers, and I deeply appreciate both. Also, in case you're listening to the end to see if I ever actually introduce myself, hi! My name is Nikki Elledge Brown. I'm the host and author of Naptime Empires and this here On Her Terms podcast. You can find me around the internet at Nikki Elledge Brown in most places, but what you may appreciate most is actually over at onherterms.com. It's what I call the insider library. It's where you can get inside scoop, first listen rights, email updates every time there's a new episode, and then special insider only bonus content. It's all over in our private feed. Okay, that's a wrap for real. I'll meet you in the next episode.